All right. This is part 2 of the review for your test that is on Friday. If you're my kids, there's good news and there's bad news. So the good news is the test is really on Friday. The bad news is the test is on Friday. So I don't know. You figure it out. All right. So number 13, it says the scatter plot shows the relationship between the ages of drivers and the number of accidents that occur for drivers of that age. So it looks like it's definitely a negative correlation. Based on the trend in the data, what would be a reasonable estimate for the age of drivers that are involved in about 30 accidents? Make sure you sketch a trend line. Keyword is make sure you sketch a trend line. Remember, a trend line is going to go nicely through the points, kind of like that. It should be a straight line. I know mine's not really that straight, but that's probably as good as it will get without a ruler. So we're going to use the trend line to help us determine at about 30 accidents how many drivers, or the age of the driver. So 30 accidents, notice there's not a dot. At 30, there is no point. However, if we use our trend line, it looks like that's going to be our missing point right there, which is at about 40. Make sure you sketch a trend. We got our trend line. Age of driver is about 40 years old. In which table does Y vary directly? Another word for directly is proportional. How do we know if the table varies directly? Let's check and see if the table is proportional by actually going through and Y divided by X. So if you go through all of these, use your calculator, and I'll do the first one with you. Y divided by X, we're going to do -8 divided by -6. And here we get 1.33. This one, 4 divided by 3. Let me make sure. 4 divided by 3. And that gives us 1.33 with more 3's. And then the last one's going to be 16 divided by 12. And that tells us 1.33 also. So since they are all the same, that means yes, it varies directly. And we have also found the constant of proportionality because they're all the same. 1.33 continuing. Please do B and C yourself. If you need to pause the video, go ahead so you can do that. Number 15, the graph at the right shows a relationship between the numbers of dollars a worker earns and the number of hours worked. What is the rate of change? Rate of change, another word for rate of change is the slope. So I would definitely make a table for this one and find the slope. Or you can notice, what do you notice about this line? This is definitely linear and it passes through the 0, 0. So that means it is a direct variation equation. Since it's direct variation, we can definitely use our Y divided by X to help us find the answer. I'm going to go ahead and use a perfect, use this point right here, 20, 160. And then go ahead and divide 160 divided by 20 to find my constant of proportionality. And I can only find the constant of proportionality because this is a direct variation. Because it's a straight line that passes through the origin, I can use Y divided by X, which is 160 divided by 20, to find my K value, which is considered the rate of change. Which of the following has a positive correlation? Remember, positive correlation means as one variable increases, the other increases, or as one variable decreases, the other also decreases. The balance on your gift card and the number of items purchased. So let's say the balance on your gift card is, well, what happens to a balance on a gift card? It usually gets lowered because you're making, your number of purchases that are being made is increasing. So that's actually a negative correlation. The number of hours you work and the amount you earn. So let's say you work many hours, you will probably earn much more money than you would have before. Or same thing, if you didn't work that many hours, then you would not make that much money. So this is a positive correlation. Make sure you circle your answer. I'm going to keep going. The populations of anteaters in the area and the population of ants. If we have lots of anteaters in the area, then that means the ants will be low because all of the many anteaters are eating all of the ants. So that's negative correlation. the number of pizza slices eaten, and the number of cars on the street. Pizza slices eaten, cars on the street, that's no correlation because they don't have anything to do with each other. Moving on to the next page. Use your calculator to find the regression equation based on the data given from the table below. I am going to go over this one for you because we haven't done that in like a day. So let's go ahead and make sure we can definitely follow along with your calculator. If not, then please just follow along. First step you always need to do is clear. Second plus 712. We're clearing up everything. Now we are definitely going to make sure we fill in the table. Press Stat and enter at Edit and fill in all the X's, 1, 3, 4, 6, and then the Y's. Be very careful when you fill the Y's in. 24.1, 26.7, 28, and 30.6. Make sure everything actually has an X comma Y. If not, it's going to mess up all your data. Now I'm going to press second 0 and go all the way down to diagnostic on, not off. Oh, there it is. And then press enter and make sure you press enter again because if it doesn't say done, you're not going to get an R value. Now I'm going to press stat so now I can go to my table. Go over to calc, press the over button. Number 4 is what we need. If you go down to number 4, press enter or just press 4. And then press enter, 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 enter. Calculate. This is where it's going to give us my information. Notice your equation. We need to put the A first with the X. The A is 1.3. It needs to have an X with it. Then you put the B. If the B is positive, you put a plus sign. And that's 22.8. This is my equation. Y equals 1.3x. That's the A. 22.8 is the B. Then it says estimate the value of y when x equals 10. This is where we can use our equation that we found. If you go to your y equals, put in that equation. We can answer any question they ask us. So put in 1.3x, your x is right there, plus 22.8, and then press second graph. It's saying estimate the value of y when x equals 10. Go to x equals 10. Your answer is 35.8. Now another question. What is the value of x when the value of y is 41? Now they're telling you y is 41. So look in the y's for the 41. Oh, perfect. Where the y is 41, what is the value of x? It is 14. That's your answer for that one. Be very careful on those because it said y was 41. We had to look over here. When this one said x is 10, we had to look over here for the x is 10. All right. And let me just mention, if you go back to the R value, the R is a perfect number 1, which means this is like a perfect, strong, positive correlation because R equals 1 is the perfect, strong, positive correlation. Lifelike Studios charges a one-time sitting fee to take your photograph, then adds 50 cents for each photograph you order. Based on the information given in the graph, how much does Lifelike Studios charge for the sitting fee? The sitting fee, if you don't know what that is, that's the money you pay before you take the pictures. So they're asking you, how much money do you pay at the starting point, or the starting amount of money you pay in the beginning? Remember, the beginning is always found on the y-axis. So which of these points is on the y-axis? If you look closely, the point that's on the y-axis is 10. That's the y-intercept, which is the starting point. The sitting fee is the starting point. Always look for the starting point on the y-axis, which is, in this case, 10. Make sure you circle your answer. The graph at the right shows the total number of hot dogs that has been sold at a park each hour after the park opened. Based on the information in the graph, which of the following is a true statement? Whenever they ask for true statements, please go through and write down whether you think it's true or false, and then answer the question. It says about 16 hot dogs were sold per hour. Per hour means after the first hour, was there about 16 hot dogs sold after the first hour? If you're looking here, look at the time after opening. After the first hour, How many do you think? It looks like it's pretty close to 20. 16, that could be true. Let's write true. About 130 hot dogs were sold in 10 hours. If you look at 10 and you go with the flow of these dots, is it true that about 130 hot dogs were sold at the 10th hour? No, it should be over 160, so that's false. About 200 hot dogs were sold in 10 hours. Now be careful, because at the 10, they're asking you, is it supposed to be a 200? No, 200 is way up here, so that one's also false. About 130 hot dogs were sold per hour. When they say per hour, they mean at the first hour, it should be way up at 130. Is that true? No, the first dot was there, so that's really false. Once you know which one's true and which one's false, it says, based on the information in the graph, which of the following is a true statement? Now you can move on. This is the last one here. Complete the table to make a direct variation. In order to make a direct variation, it's probably best to find your k first. The way to find your k is to always take whatever y and x they give you and divide it. So in this case, I'm going to take 10 divided by 4. 10 divided by 4, I'm getting 2.5. That's my constant of variation. I can then use that constant of variation to actually put it in my y equals. When I put it in my y equals, I need to put 2.5, then I need to put an x on it. That's the equation I put in my y equals. Now once I press second graph, I can fill in anything that it asks. You could fill in at the 1, what's with it? At the 3, what's with it? 7.5. At the 6, what's with it? You could fill in anything they ask you. If you have a k value, turn it into an equation, and then go to your table. Thank you. Good luck on your test.